I can't believe these Pied Pipers are still pushing the $1,000 Live Abroad card in 2026. Welcome back to our Retire Early lifestyle. The shameless promoters are at it again. What do you think about this amazing claim made by the Rams, Retire Abroad Media? Where to retire early for $1,000 a month? Where I'd retire for $1,000 a month. 7 countries where retirees only spend $1,000 a month. These are just a few of the common trends we see on a daily basis coming out of YouTube. They are declaring, not even claiming, that you can live on $1,000 per month. Let's talk about costs. We're going to break it all down for you. Did you know that for us to be able to live on $1,000 in Cuenca, Ecuador, starting in 2011, that was 15 years ago, and in one of the cheapest countries in Latin America at that time, we had to rent for under $300.
You know, we're still living in Ecuador, 5 adults, on less than $1,000 a month and living well in Ecuador. And, you know, check out the house we rent for $250 a month. Because there's no reason to come to a country like Ecuador and spend $600 to $1,000 a month in rent, several times people's wages.
We had to take 35-cent buses. Oh, excuse me, it was 25 cents back then when we lived there.
Integrate within the local culture, you know, live at the cultural pricing levels.
We would once in a while take a taxi, but we couldn't take taxis all the time if we wanted to keep our expenses down to $1,000 a month. We had to put a stipulation in the lease for the landlord to not raise our rent for 2 years because they will do that. Try getting $250 per month rental price today in 2026 anywhere abroad. By the way, our house with a small yard for $250 a month was a 3-bedroom plus office and 2.5 baths for that price. But you'll be challenged to find that now anywhere abroad unless it's in a bad area. Not that they don't exist, it's just that they're not going to be made available to a foreigner in most cases. I can't believe these Pied Pipers are still pushing the $1,000 Live Abroad card in 2026. Even in 2023, it was almost impossible. You might find a studio or a 1-bedroom flat for $250 in developing countries where there is not a lot of people moving there, but that price will not last. The landlord will raise your rent after the first year. That's what they do. I'm telling you that these videos are a bunch of hype, but apparently some people are still falling for it. For $1,000 a month, you won't own a car, but you'll be walking or taking taxis and buses where you need to go. And those taxis, even though they may be only a few bucks, add up quickly. A taxi in a developing country will set you back about $3 to $5 on average for a ride somewhere. So going and coming back home, you're at $6 to $10 a day. And if you only take taxis, let's say half the time, that would be like 4 days a week. That would be $24 a week and about $100 to $150 a month. Did they tell you about this? Your first year of moving abroad will be your most expensive. There's your airfare costs, visa costs, lawyer or other middleman costs, document fees for apostilles and notaries, your Airbnb costs until you find an affordable long-term lease rental. And so it's going to cost you way more than $1,000 the first year you move abroad. When we were frugal and industrious living in Cuenca, Ecuador, and our cost of living was around $1,000 to $1,200 a month a decade ago, everyone else was paying $2,000 to $2,500 a month in Cuenca. Fast forward to 2026, which means because Albania is now being recommended by people as cheap, it is going through what is called the foreigner inflation. Let's talk about Albania. So what does fast forwarding to 2026 mean? Let me show you what I mean. 5 years ago in Albania, you could rent a one-bedroom for 350 euros. But what is it today? Today, they're saying it's 450 to 800 euros. For those who are using the dollar, it will cost you more. These $1,000 pushers always forget about the currency conversion. Isn't that convenient? You're looking at between $520 to $925 to rent a one-bedroom now in Albania, okay? And we'll tell you right now, the low figure is probably not that nice. This is what's called foreigner inflation because of demand. And as more people move there and start needing to rent, it doesn't take 5 years anymore. Now you're looking at 6 months to a year for the prices to spike in desirable locations where everyone wants to be. We saw it happen in real time in Cuenca, Ecuador, guys and gals. I was surprised to see that not even in developing countries can you find a $250 euro one bedroom anymore. Shaking our head because it's crazy, and Albania is being pulled off by the pumpers as cheap. This is what really annoys me. Any rent that is lower than $1,500 to $2,000 in America right now is supposed to be considered cheap. Ask an Albanian if 600 euros is cheap to him for rent. Okay, enough said about price inflation in Albania. Are you ready to be shocked? Please make sure you're sitting down and not sipping on anything hot as I read this. Here goes. In 2020, the average rent in Vietnam varied significantly between cities like Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. Hanoi was about $50 to $62 per month for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment in 2020. Ho Chi Minh City, relatively higher, averaging about $70 to $85 per month. Let's fast forward to 2026, 5 years later, and Hanoi is $640 to $720 for a 2 bedroom, and Ho Chi Minh City is $680 to $720 for a 2 bedroom apartment. Okay? But it's all over on YouTube that you can live in Vietnam for $1,000 or less. Are you kidding me? This is a real puppet show. It's a classic bait and switch. If you're paying almost $700 on an apartment, you're not living on $1,000 a month in Vietnam. I'll tell you, these types of videos that play on your feelings and entice you to move somewhere are shameless promotions. That's all it is. Our 15 years of experience reveals that most of the people that watch those videos and end up going there will never make it to live on that. Picture this. You get off the plane, you take your taxi to your hotel, and the next day visit a real estate agent. Do you think they're going to waste their time showing you $250 rentals or even $750 rentals? Hint, hint, their commission is the rent amount. And 2, all the locals know that foreigners already pay $750 or more, and if you ask them, they will direct you to those buildings, not their local rentals. They want the rentals for themselves, and they should have them. But, it's another video. And even for those that are determined to make that figure work, it's an uphill climb, and many, if not most, will end up going home, if that's all they can afford. We've seen it with our own eyes and even made videos about it. And so why do these Rams make these promotions? Because it creates huge traffic, a big hubbub, excitement, and uproar. And they know all too well that most of these people will spend money on plane fares and hotels, and so usually they can afford more, and they will end up paying more. Because after all, who wants to kiss their paradise trip goodbye over a little more money, right? This is where we're at right now today. But what is the alternative? And is there even an alternative for those folks who have a small income or small social security? Yes, we're here to say that there are alternatives to going abroad and fighting the crowds, prices, and inflation. Because that's what you're doing when you move abroad. You're fighting crowds, prices, and inflation. You will always be silently compared to the expat Americans that have more money than you, whether you do or you don't. So why do we have to move abroad and pay double and triple for rent because the expats before us are paying that amount? Do you understand? It doesn't matter if you make $28,000 a year or $120,000 a year. Expats from America are marked for the skin tax or foreigner tax. We know we lived it. The alternative is to stay home and learn to be industrious. What does industrious really mean for those on a smaller means? We have always done things differently. We don't go into debt to buy a home, car, furniture, clothing, or anything. We don't even own a credit card. Now, how do you like them apples? Is that possible to not own a credit card? Absolutely. It just means if you don't have the money in the bank, you don't buy it. It's as simple as that. I have to admit that it is much easier and more affordable to live in the USA if you own your home outright. But actually, not having debt is more desirable. So if you're in debt, that's okay. Just do what you need to do to get your debts paid off, and sooner rather than later. But everything we need to survive in this world, housing, transportation, clothing, and just basic stuff, we have it all, and we got it for a fraction of what other people pay. Because remember, we stay out of debt. We don't keep up with the Joneses, meaning we don't care what other people do. We don't compare ourselves to anyone else. We do what we need to do for ourselves according to our financials. There are alternatives and many, many options for families on smaller means. You certainly don't have to be enticed by shameless promoters to move to a dangerous foreign country just so you can make ends meet. That's silly. I'm going to say again, you can have everything that everyone else has, but at a fraction of what they spend. If you seek out your options and possibility thinking, you can live as comfortable as Mr. and Mrs. Jones. If you guys and gals want, we'll talk about that in the next video. But for now, let's talk about your biggest expense, housing. Here are 6 alternatives to traditional housing, which would be getting a loan at the bank and paying off a mortgage with a bunch of interest. Number 1, owner finance. Now, if you're paying rent now, this makes sense. You need at least $5,000 to $10,000 for a down payment. The owner carries the loan and you pay the owner in monthly installments. Whatever you can afford, you talk that out with the owner until the house is paid off, or you decide to do a balloon payment later on down the road. That's between you and the owner, whatever you guys decide and stipulate together in the contract. Number 2, rent to own. If you're paying rent now, this makes the most sense because rent goes towards equity in the home. You're essentially buying the home with your monthly rent. Number 3, tiny house. Now, you can go as low as $20,000 to whatever you want to pay for a tiny house. You'll need a plot of land somewhere, or maybe a family member will allow you to have your tiny house set up somewhere on their property. Number 4, buy a cheap old fixer. Now, many people are doing this now, and you can do it for $10,000 to whatever price you want to pay. Number 6, prefab tiny house. Now, this is under $10,000. It's cheaper than the tiny houses because they're prefabs. They're not set up yet. And you'll also need a plot of land. But what can you get for under $10,000 in the prefab tiny house? Well, take a look at this. It's really cute. They're budget friendly. They're low barrier to entry, portable freedom, and do-it-yourself potential. They're kits under $10,000. And here's what the inside looks like. It says that you can customize and build it to your own liking and at your own pace. Now they say with the tiny houses under $10,000, don't expect marble countertops or cedar siding at this price, but many of these homes are built with treated wood or galvanized steel frames, weather-resistant panels, basic insulation, and minimalist interiors for easy personalization and customization. We think it is an interesting option, and if you can find a plot of cheap land somewhere, this is the way to go for one person or a couple, and you'll be a homeowner. I'll place the link to the prefab tiny homes under $10,000 below in the description. So yes, you can escape to Thailand, Vietnam, or Albania for cheaper, but as we've seen, those prices don't last, and you're going to be there, not here. That means you're probably leaving behind loved ones and familiar environment and people, and that eventually will become a huge emotional and mental challenge for most expats to leave behind. It's just the reality. We're just saying. So the bottom line is, you can go to the Rams for the chocolate cake with icing and get caught up in their bait and switch, or you can come to Frank and Angie for the hearty soup of reason and reality. In another video, we can talk about some of the ways that you can have a quality life right here in America, even though it is a high-cost country. But let us end with this. I think some people have been mistaken to think that just because you came back home that you somehow failed as an expat. And that is ridiculous. And I hope no one here thinks we think expats are failures just because it didn't work out as planned. On the contrary, you now have learned so much, and now you know how it really is living in a foreign country because you experienced it for yourself. You brought back some great memories and can share those with your loved ones and friends. It was an experience through the good times and the bad times. And now you know that vacations do make more sense over relocating your entire life. And now you can focus on living your real best life in your home country, where you can really go for the gusto through different ways, options, strategies, and possibilities for industrious living with no austerity. Isn't that great? We hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, blessings to you all. Take care and bye-bye.